want to introduce you to Eden Invitation and introduce Anna and Shannon, who are the co-founders and president and director of community care for Eden. This is another one of those game-changing ideas that I'm excited to present to you now.
You're in the kitchen. Your child, grandchild, niece, nephew approaches you. You can tell they're nervous. There's some sort of internal battle going on beyond your ability to discern. They're a good kid, involved in their faith, but something lately has been off. Can we talk? They say. You wait for their deep breath and notice you're holding your own. I like girls and guys. Or I'm gay. Or I might be trans. Where would you send them for support? What would you say?
Your young person is not alone. Let's break it down with the millennial generation. There are 71 million millennials in the US, and 22% of millennials are Catholic. Several studies show that roughly 1 in 3 millennials experience fluidity in their attractions. So if all the stats match up, there could be nearly 4.5 million millennial Catholics experiencing some degree of same-sex desires. And that doesn't even account for gender identity concerns or emerging Gen Z. So what happens next? Nearly 40% of former Catholics, regardless of sexual orientation, cite LGBTQ concerns as one of the main reasons they leave the church. Over 50% of those who identify as LGBTQ formally leave their faith of birth after the age of 18. Now, there's plenty of spaces to go. You can find support from the hundreds of advocacy groups, affirmation from the 80-plus LGBT YouTubers with millions of views, down at the local bar, or any major city's pride parade. Regardless of why this is happening, we know that it is happening. And compared to broader secular culture, we as a church are underprepared. The church has a broad network of young adult groups who provide dynamic community, praise be to God, but who don't offer much specialized pastoral care in this area. Then there are the misleading organizations who claim Catholicism but promote lifestyles contrary to the church's teaching. And the one Orthodox apostolate that specializes in this, while certainly a pioneer in the field, hasn't been able to reach everyone.
We're Anna Carter
and Shannon Ochoa,
the co-founders of Eden Invitation, a movement for young adult Catholics experiencing same-sex desires or gender discordance. We came of age in the new millennium. Clergy sex abuse crisis, legalization of gay marriage, not to mention TV shows like Glee or Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. In the midst of the turmoil in church and culture, both of us were just trying to sort out our own longings for other women.
At my secular university, I searched for answers in social work and gender and women's studies. If the church wasn't a place to acknowledge my desires, maybe my classes were. The cultural awareness I gained there would be invaluable to my work in ministry once I came back to Christ.
I majored in theology, became a religion teacher, all while keeping my attractions neatly compartmentalized. But having to stand in front of those kids, teaching sexual morality without being able to tell them personally that the church wasn't asking the impossible, something broke open in me. Apologetics alone wasn't working. 3 years ago, Shannon and I had a conversation about why neither of us had left the church. And it came down to encountering Christ in community. But we both have friends who received these things and still left. They lacked a place to process, to know they weren't alone. So in 2017, we started Eden Invitation with a website, a testimonial video, and a whole lot of gumption. Dozens of people experiencing same-sex desires or wrestling with their gender started reaching out, including a young woman named Raquel, who saw Shannon's testimonial video and still, though, had a lot of doubts if the church's teaching could possibly be true. In early 2018, we instituted our first small group book club, establishing a digital entry point. Raquel was one of the inaugural members. Now we've grown to 20 instances per year with a dozen trained volunteer leaders. In 2019, our first in-person retreat brought us a surge of new participants from 20 states and Canada. Some realized they were from the same area and started meeting. Raquel became the de facto ringleader in South Bend. By the end of the year, we were able to host 2 regional gatherings and 3 local groups were in place. People started to connect first at the local level rather than just online. though COVID-19 brought on some existential crises, giving us another digital boost. Eden Invitation is onto something. Young adults experiencing same-sex desires or gender discordance want to feel at home in the Catholic Church. And there's so many more of us out there.
So we're moving forward with a dual initiative, Hearth and Porch. We need to expand our community information process, and we need to be unashamed about inviting people in. Through the upcoming fall and spring, we'll start training grassroots leadership to facilitate local Hearth groups with care and oversight from the home office. These groups will offer whole person formation to be written and curated by our team. Hearth groups also provide a launching point for regional relationships with donors and the local church. It's shared life for the long haul. We envision Hearth groups in every major city they're needed, along with a digital version for those in rural and emerging regions. Next, we'll engage culture during June's Pride Month 2021. We'll identify diverse testimonies and create witness videos, the beginning of a larger catalog of video assets. This story sharing porch campaign will provide a new perspective for believers on the edge. It also drives allies to our resources and speaking opportunities, which contribute to funding our mission. We've already made progress throughout the accelerator. We've secured seed funding to double our team with 2 new hires in operations and programming. We've also established 2 advisory councils, Episcopal for ecclesiastical vigilance and professional to fill our experience gaps. And in case you were wondering, this summer Raquel became that program staff member. The dynamic heart of a growing region with regular gatherings, 30 new donors, and formal Episcopal support.
Secular culture's ship of sexual identity has sailed for open waters. And as Catholics, we stand on the firm ground of divine and natural law, all too often wondering how things could have turned out this way. But in the meantime, there are hundreds, thousands of young people standing on the dock, watching, wondering where they belong. You know, with this initiative, we're not just talking about a new small group program. We're talking about people remaining with Christ in the Catholic Church. Imagine the wounded realizing the church cares for them deeply. Imagine your child, grandchild, niece, nephew, realizing that they are not alone, that holiness is possible for them, that God is calling. Imagine the wayward coming back to faith and having a place to thrive and give of themselves. A porch to enter and a hearth to gather. A place in the church to thrive. To call home. Thank you.
And then Shannon, I can tell you that your passion really comes through, I think, in your presentation. And thank you for the work that you're doing, the important work that you're doing. Let's go to our judges now for some comment and question. I just want to, is Mary Lou on, guys?
I'm on an audio, but not video.
All right, fine. Mary Lou, since we have you, do you want to kick it off with a question and a comment?
Would.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking, Jason. I just wanted to start by saying I thought that was a very thoughtful and sensitive expression of a very important problem in the context of the Catholic Church. One of the things I was very impressed with is you talked about having trained volunteer leaders. Could you expand upon that a little to explain so we have a better understanding of what that means and the role that they will play within the context of these groups and how you think they will make an impact with these groups?
Yes, so we have already begun training leaders, like we said, with our online book clubs. And so we have existing criteria for that. And we would add components for the in-person communities that are relevant, obviously, with that regard. But I mean, our initial criteria for the leaders really is being faithful to the magisterium, a daily prayer life, relational maturity, emotional intelligence, a self-starter. So those are like what we look for in some of the leaders.
And I think for us, I think a lot of times in the church, people who are wrestling with sexuality, with their gender, are often seen simply as objects of pastoral care, right? That's what a lot of the documents are about. That's a lot of the talks that we hear. How do we care for them? And so for us, it's really, really important that people with these experiences feel empowered for discipleship, feel empowered for mission, and know that they have a calling to give of themselves within the church, and we provide an avenue for that within our organization.
Thank you, Ed. Very helpful.
Other judges' comments, questions, Carolyn. Let me get you unmuted, Carolyn.
You're still
Carolyn,
muted.
hang on, Carolyn. We're trying to unmute you.
I think I'm okay. So
There
first
you
of
go.
all, you are extraordinary writers. The writing is beautiful and excellent work. And the second thing is that it's a very well planned out endeavor. I know that the topic that you address is itself, you know, a difficult topic. The whole same-sex attraction and within the church space, very difficult. But I just want to say, a lot of times then people focus on that and they don't focus on the organization building part of it, but you do. And those two things combined are really excellent. I want to ask you this. This is a difficult issue. Working to advocate for the well-being, for the legitimacy of same-sex people within the church is not an easy project. So first of all, and I'm so glad to see that you have the Ecclesial Advisory Council. I want to ask you one question in two parts. What type of difficulties have you run into? Because this is a very difficult space. And then secondly, given that you are advocating for same-sex people and, you know, their feelings, their emotions, their legitimacy, but at the same time, you also have a statement that declare marriage is between one man and one woman. And where does that sort of pitch you? So your overall difficulties with that space, which is a very difficult space.
I think you nailed it, Carolyn. You know, I think there are definitely Catholics, even within the church, but there's Catholics who think that like supporting gay marriage or surgical transitions is the only real kindness that we can offer. And then you also have people within the Catholic Church who think like, well, if we just hand somebody a book, then we never have to talk about it again, you know? And we are shooting straight for the middle for compassionate orthodoxy, really. And I think ultimately, that's where Christ lands, right? If we're looking at the gospel, being both like unashamed of just the mess of human experience and being able to go there and be present with people, but also really being firm in the invitation to conversion, the invitation to life. And so I think we find a lot of consolation in just knowing that it is possible for us to hold those two things. But you're right, we do encounter people who would maybe want us to emphasize one over the other. But we just keep going. And I think there's also a lot of people out there in the church, different organizations, like we mentioned, just like priests, bishops that see it that way as well. And so we know that we're not alone.
Very good. Eric, final comment.
Great. Wonderful, you guys. Thank you so much for your courage. And this, I was incredibly moved by your project and this initiative. You know, as you guys have investigated just the secular LGBTQ advocacy groups and things that are out there, and you're aware of those, what have you found helpful in those secular agencies and organizations that you guys are implementing, want to implement in what you're creating with Eden?
And some of the things that we've seen, which is really where the base of the Hearth and Porch Initiative comes from, is radical community and witness, right? Which our Hearth project really is the formation and the leadership and the local infrastructure to have that radical, consistent community in your local area. And then Porch, witness videos and testimonials in the secular space are so powerful, and they're countless, right? They're done really well. They're done really, really well. Very visually beautiful, all of it. And so the Porch campaign for us is a way to be able to give that beautiful testimonials with the light of Christ within it, and being able to tell testimonies and the narrative of this experience unashamed, but in the church. And so that's those are two elements we've seen in the secular space that we're kind of like adopting and elevating.
Because really the most empowering thing of all is grace. And yeah, we've got, you know, like as Catholics, we've got that. And so we can.
Beautiful. Well done.
Again, I love your passion. I love your energy on such an important topic for the church. How can people learn more about Hearth and Porch, and in particular, the work you're doing at Eden Invitation?
Yes. So whether this is your story or the story of someone you love, you can visit us at edeninvitation.com and follow us on Facebook or Instagram.
Thanks, guys. Fantastic job. I really appreciate it. And the investors will get to talk to you soon, and appreciate your time and good job on the pitch this morning. Again, these are in no particular order. Well, they're actually in alphabetical order. They're not ranked of any sort. But the second winner of the OSV Innovation Prize is Eden Invitation. And of course, what do you know it? We have muted.
Woo! Woo! Pretty immediate tears there. Wow. Great.
Congratulations, guys. We are super excited for you. You have done a lot of hard work this year. What does this 100,000 mean for you guys and for your work?
Well, our video got shot by the host, but I hope you can hear us. Oh, there we go.
You're back.
Yeah, great. I think I just want to give a shout out to all of the EI community members who have signed up to watch this. I think what this means, this win is this is for all of us. And for us, what it means is more people finding family and acceptance and
a place to thrive in discipleship
and the love of the Lord. That's what it means. Yeah.
And just super honored and humbled. Also, if you're a community member and you were on, check out Slack. We'll send a Zoom link to do a toast. Anyway.
What were some of the milestones that you guys experienced when you went through this last year? A lot of tough, hard work. What were some of the milestones for you? What was your journey like?
I think for us early on, it was just kind of we're like, what's a project that we want to do that we can bootstrap if we need to, and just being able to just to really grow the project, to see how, even just throughout COVID-19, how there was just such a proof of concept in the power of relationship, for giving people hope, in the midst of trial. And I think I'm just so grateful as well. I think a lot of what we do is really just organic and trying to be open to the Holy Spirit. But I think I've just been so grateful too for the pushes to just to professionalize our operations, to be data driven, to be strategic, to also have hope that we're going to be here in 5 or 10 years, and we need to plan that way. And you guys have given us the tools to do that, and we're just really, really grateful.
As a winner representing the OSV Innovation Challenge, what would you say to someone who wants to enter the challenge next year, 2021?
I think, one, do it in a heartbeat, but two, that you have an opportunity to give the church hope, just in new ways. I think we've just been super humbled by that opportunity, and even just the platform and the networking. But you have a way to engage Christ's children in such a unique way through this challenge that I've been just super humbled to be a part of it. So thank you.
Well, thanks again. You guys are doing very important work for the church. I'm so thrilled that you and those in the community that you're a part of are get this recognition. So thank you so much, and congratulations from all of us. Well deserved.
Thank you. And pray for us.